What's my best podcast voice for like doing the intro for the show? You know, do we do like the standard? Hey, welcome back! It's We Were Gamers, episode 103, or do we do more like, hey guys, how's it going? I don't know what we are sometimes as a podcast. How do you guys feel today? It's getting a little gloomy outside. I don't know which way to introduce this podcast. It's episode 103 of We Were Gamers.
Yeah, there's a little rain in the forecast. But,
yeah, there was already some sprinkles starting outside this location, so hopefully it stays good enough that it doesn't affect this recording. Not that rain should have any effect on the internet, but you never know.
I can tell you definitively that rain has effect on the internet in some places where they don't jacket their cables very well.
Like I said, it shouldn't.
Yeah, that does not sound fun.
Yeah, it used to be a work building that I was in, and every time it rained, a good amount of rain, it would seep into the line, and then all of a sudden we were all tethering to our iPhones. Good times. Good times, Los Angeles. Hooray. No opinion, huh? Have you heard that podcast voice? Where you're like, hey guys,
are you telling like
back.
The people turn on their like radio voice where they're like all of a sudden like, hello, welcome to episode 106 of We Were Gamers. I'm now trying to use the transatlantic accent or whatever.
Right.
Yeah, that's not us.
Okay.
No.
Good.
Yeah, that's not us.
Sounds good to me. I'm good with that. How's it going, you guys?
Going well.
All right. Right on. I have to thank you both for a minute. Known to many people that have listened to the podcast for a while, I have kids, and around the house during the day I like to play music, listen to podcasts, have things going on so that there's noise, you know, so the kids hear people talking a lot. And I applaud our decision to keep this podcast PG.
Makes good background noise for the wee babbies.
The gaming community likes to drop the F word quite a bit in their podcasting.
So you're saying I shouldn't say bleep the bleeping bleepers?
Actually, that would be pretty funny because then you walk around and say bleep, 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 bleep all day, and that'll be great. But anyway, we occupy a unique space, I think, by not cursing all the time.
Is that a sad, like, I don't know if that should be like, wow, that's sad that that's how that has to be.
Yeah, I don't know. Do we do a housing minute?
I was going to say, is there news of the world?
No, this is housing minute.
News of the world here first on Channel 2.
I think you've nailed that better than the rest of us. Breaking news, there's random metal inside my walls that appears to be studs. So when trying to mount things to my walls the other night, I may have drilled through an electrical box.
Is there still power in all the rooms?
Yes.
I think you would know if you drilled through an electrical box.
That's why I'm confused about what's there, because it's not
I think it could be metal inside the walls, though. Like the thing that holds the two pieces of drywall together or something.
Wouldn't there be a joint? Wouldn't there be like a stud or something else behind it?
Is it very near to a door or a window or something like? Could it be part of the framing of one of those?
Yeah, but in exactly the even spot on the opposite side of the window, there isn't metal.
Because I definitely, when I was mounting my curtain or my blackout shades on some of my windows, when I tried to drill into parts of the frame to mount them, it was like, why is this one? Oh, this is metal for some reason.
Oh, interesting. So what'd you do?
Well, in one case, I just adjusted the windows so it's, or where I was drilling over by 2 inches.
Mm-hmm.
And that sort of solved that problem. It's slightly askew in a way that you would never know unless you knew.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember what we did in the other one. Did we maybe just eventually get through it with like enough ruining of that drill bit? I don't remember.
Oh, you just punched through, huh?
Yeah, I don't remember what happened.
All right, fair enough.
How
were you confident enough just punching through it like that? I'm scared.
I wasn't.
Okay.
But my dad was here helping me at the time, and he was just like, "Yeah, just keep going." And I was like, "Okay." I mean, there's definitely like no electrical stuff there because it's like a window, right? There's not like an electrical wire running around the frame of the window.
So if I look straight down, there's a plug. I know.
If you drilled through a metal thing where there was electricity stuff, I think you would be able to feel it.
Right? Yeah. Anyway, Housing Minute.
That's my opinion, but I'm not a licensed contractor.
Yeah. Well, that's where I've been up to. That and finally admitting to myself that I like Fortnite.
I guess it's good that you're able to admit this to yourself, that you've come out into public. We took a whole
20 minutes last episode. I ruined 20 minutes of an episode because I couldn't say it out loud.
I don't know what was the holdback.
I don't know. It just has a connotation of like, a lot of the streamers are really bro streamers, and it's not a deep game, and it's completely funded by microtransaction, skins and stuff like that. But and to be clear, I would probably never play it on my PC. It's just the amount of time you would have to sink in to just not get wasted every match at the end of it, right? Like I can sneak around until I'm in the top 10 almost every time, but then one-on-one with these people that are still left in the top 10, you just get blown away, especially on the PC. But on the mobile, it's actually somewhat entertaining to like play. I don't know. It's just entertaining for some weird reason. Anyway, that's what I've been doing on my phone.
Well, that's a decent enough segue to something that I have been doing on someone else's phone.
Is that because you have a Google phone?
It is because I have an Android phone. Why
don't they call it Google phone?
Because Google is not the name of the operating system, right? Google's a company. Just like Apple is not the name of the operating system. It's an iOS phone, right?
Yeah, they should just call it an Apple phone.
I mean, people do.
Yeah.
And Google does make some phones now. Anyway,
it's just confusing because you have an actual phone made by Google, though.
Yes, I do. That's true.
Yeah.
I have one of those Pixels.
But
anyway,
it's also made by... Anyway, sorry.
We're getting off topic here. The point is that my fiance and I have been playing this game called HQ. Have you guys heard of this game before?
Scott.
Yeah,
it's Scott. I'm going to read you some questions.
But it isn't always Scott.
It's mostly Scott, though.
That's what I thought. And then for like the first several games that we played, it was some lady who is absolutely not Scott.
So did you start in time, or did she warn you in time so that you could watch The Rock be the host?
Oh, no. I didn't know. When was that?
It was a promotional thing for Rampage.
No, I think that was after. I think that was before we came to this game.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that was a couple of weeks ago, I think.
Yeah. So it's just a trivia game, right? 10 questions or something like that? 15? What is it?
It's like 12 or 15.
Yeah.
And
depending on how much the prize money is.
Right, yeah. The high prize money games are more questions. And then it's you get like 10 seconds or less to answer these questions. And it's like 3 choices. And if you're wrong, you're out. And if you're right, you stay in. And if you answer all the questions right, you split the pot with whoever else also got all the questions right.
So this game was founded by one of the Twitter Richies.
I believe it is one of the Vine
Vine
people.
Well, Vine, Twitter, whatever. Same difference. I don't quite understand their business model and how they're going to make money in the long run.
I think no one understands because I also don't.
It's the same model that MoviePass has, actually. I completely understand.
Model?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because they've realized, hey, our business model is unsustainable.
No, here's what everybody's doing, and they knew their business model was unsustainable. HQ knows their business model is unsustainable. Everybody knows, right? The thing they're trying to get is a solid subscription user base, or, so like HQ wants 600,000 people every week to be logging in. MoviePass wants to say they have 2 million subscribers and all that sort of stuff. And they take those numbers and they're like, well, we're still losing money, but we have all these income methods and blah, blah, blah. And much like Facebook and Twitter and all these other companies, then they rush to the stock market, get paid, and leave their dying company out for shareholders to fix. That's their business model. That's everybody's business model now. They just lose money until they get to the stock market.
Okay. Well, I don't know anything about that, but I do know that it's pretty fun. They make it like the comedian people, Scott being the favorite, it seems.
Sure. I don't mean to detract from the game or the MoviePass service. Fun. They're good.
Although it sounds like MoviePass is becoming a lot less good these days if you sign up now.
Sure. Yeah.
So I don't know. It becomes a lot harder to make it really worth the price. But yeah, as regards HQ, anyway, that game is completely free, so it costs you literally nothing except for some amount of your time at like the 2 appointed times, which are like noon and 6 o'clock or something.
Is it daily at noon? So like during the workday, they trying to hit people's lunch hour?
Yeah, I think it's at noon and at 6 o'clock.
Yeah.
Every day, and then whatever. You answer a few trivia questions. You probably get it wrong on like question 5 or 6 or 7, and then you're done. That's been my experience anyway.
So no cash for you yet?
No, not even close.
Even definitely if you win the 12 question days, it's like $1.60 or something, right?
It's like $5,000 on the normal days, and then like $25,000 on the big money.
But
ones.
That's split. It's not 5 to everybody that wins.
It's split between all the winners. But I think people have said usually the number of people that win is not that high. They're like on the times where the questions are like quote easier or whatever, people are getting like more than $10, and on the harder ones it's usually like over 100. So it's not nothing.
It's interesting.
It's not that much time.
Go ahead, Michael.
Oh, I was going to say that's a pretty good return on the amount of time that you put in.
Yeah, because the 12 questions, answering the 12 questions, since you know when it's going to start, right? Like just slightly after the top of the hour, you tune in then, and if you happen to just know all this stuff and you get to the end, then great, you made $10 to $50 or whatever, and then you're done. I don't understand how you get the money because the app doesn't seem to have any kind of way to do that. But
I think when you win, you get a little screen and you put in your PayPal information and they send it to you.
Okay. That makes more sense.
It's interesting. The most interesting thing I'm going to start that sentence over. The most interesting thing I think that HQ contends with that is behind the scenes there is how Scott has to read the questions and like make up the questions and install the jokes in the questions, because they actually have to make it so that you can't just sit there with like a voice recognition system taking in the question and spitting the answer back out before the thing comes up,
Right. And they have to make the questions hard enough that you can't be typing it in as he says it and hit enter in Google and then the answer is on the first page, right?
Yeah.
So they have
some
to
of the
be
first
obscure
questions
enough.
You could Google fast enough if you're
fast typist, right?
Fast typer next to you, and so you had your finger on the button. But I don't know.
Yeah, it is short enough, and the questions at least are hard enough to Google that you definitely can't do it on your phone, right? And this is a phone thing, so you have to be on your phone. So if you're sitting at a computer and you have all that stuff ready,
well, you could use voice recognition on that Google phone that can't play HQ.
Right. So if you have 2 phones, then you have a second computer available to you. Maybe
this
that
is
would
sounding
work.
like work, guys.
Yeah, exactly. Now the time investment doesn't sound worth it. How many games do you have to win to pay for that second phone? And then blah, blah, blah.
It's an interesting idea to create like a cultural touchstone moment sort of thing where it's like only at appointed times.
Yeah, like appointment TV used to be, right?
It sounds though that like the guy that runs it, one of the Vine guys, is not the nicest. I've heard, I think it was Waypoint maybe that was like having run-ins, or maybe it was Bombcast, but somebody was like having run-ins with the Twitter guy because like the Twitter guy didn't want, or Vine guy didn't want Scott to be bigger than the game and all that sort of stuff. So
you're telling me that the people in Silicon Valley aren't great people? I'm shocked.
I don't know them personally. I'm expressing things that I have heard.
I mean, I think news came out about this app a while back that, yes, like Scott was becoming very popular, and the people at that company don't want Scott to become more popular than their app, right? Yeah. And I think that's a legitimate worry from a business perspective, right? Like, we don't want our star becoming too big for us, right?
I think they have bigger business worries.
Kind of, yeah, exactly. It's also like, that's not your biggest problem, dude. You need to be thinking about some other stuff over here.
Yeah. Like I said, I have an opinion about Silicon Valley companies and how they do startups, and how they show how they're losing money all the time, but yet have gigantic stock prices. But that's neither here nor there. I assume, and it sounds like you enjoy the game, and that's kind of really all that matters until it goes away.
Yeah.
Nice. Right on. Hey, I heard a rumor that, though delayed, that new Hearthstone thing is also out on phones.
It is, and it's also out on PCs as well.
Oh.
Just so you can play the Monster Hunt, their new single-player thing for the Witchwood.
It's dungeon runs again, right?
It is dungeon run-like. Okay. There are only 4 classes this time, but they are new classes, so they're not the same as the usual Hearthstone classes. There's a tracker, there's a Houndmaster, there's a Cannoneer, and there's a Time Tinker. And each of them have their own character portraits and new hero powers and new treasures associated with those classes that you can find on your dungeon run type adventure.
Cool.
Yeah, I have played through some as each of those. I haven't beaten it as all of them yet. Some of them are pretty tough. Specifically, the Time Tinker is bad. The starting deck for that character is really awful, and her hero power is cool in theory, but not as useful as you want it to be. Her hero power costs 0 and lets you start the turn over.
Are we playing Into the Breach?
Kind of. Yes, actually. That's like a really good parallel, Michael. And so you cast it, it just reverts everything to how it was at the beginning of your turn. And your hero power is then used and you can't do it again.
That turn or ever?
That turn. So, like, the next turn, right? Like, when you hit end turn again, your hero power refreshes like normal.
So it's just like you get a free do-over?
Yes.
That's the terrible hero power.
You're right. And her deck is full of things that have, like, small RNG effects. Like, you get Mad Bomber, and he can throw the barrels wherever, or you get Arcane Missiles, and they can hit random stuff. And, so then, like, you can help kind of, like, if you get a bad outcome on your RNG, you get to try again.
So you're just re-rolling the dice.
Yeah, it's bad.
That sounds like literal hell.
And so, there's not... and then some of her powers, like the treasures and stuff that you find, give you, like, really powerful effects, right? The one is, like, the first spell you cast this turn gets casted twice, and then the second one just has random targets. So, like, okay, if you cast Arcane Missiles, right? Arcane Missiles hits 3 random targets that are enemies. So, okay, you cast 1 Arcane Missiles, you essentially cast it twice for no cost, right? That's pretty good. Like, you're still hitting stuff, at least. It's all enemies, right? But if you get stuff like Fireball, that can hit anything, including your face. And so, it makes certain things more useful than other ones. And that hero power is really weak, and I haven't had a great time with that one. The other 3 have all been much more interesting, at least. The tracker is kind of like a mix between a rogue and a hunter, and their hero power lets you discover a card from any class card that's been played this game, which is pretty cool, including ones that the bosses play. So sometimes you can find, like, if the boss casts Swipe on you or whatever, you can get that. Or if you cast, like, Eviscerate, you can keep discovering Eviscerate over and over.
Huh.
The Houndmaster summons a 1/1 Hound with Rush, and then has all kinds of effects that let you buff up your, like, minions or whatever. and that's pretty cool. And the Cannoneer starts with an unattackable minion in play that can't move or do anything, and your hero power for 2 mana lets the cannon, it's like a little cannon, and it does 1 damage to the thing across from it in the way that the like chess things used to work in Hearthstone. So if you line the cannon up,
the chessboard was a weird thing.
Yeah, so it will be like if you cast the hero power, the cannon, if it's pointed at 1 minion, will shoot the minion across from it. If it's pointed in between 2 minions because the like numbers are offset or whatever, then it shoots at each one. Or if there's nothing in its way, it shoots at the enemy hero. And then there's all kinds of things to let you refresh your hero power or get more cannons and have them do more damage or whatever. And so you can kind of make all these cannons kill stuff. And if you kill something with the cannon, the hero power refreshes and you can do it again.
Nice.
Cool. So anyway, it's a cool mode. I've been enjoying it. It's out there for free. Check it out.
Nice. Did I hear something that they had a little bit of a buggy rollout this time around?
Yeah, it sounded like right as the mode came out, there were some server issues, people getting kicked out of games or unable to start games. Right around the time that the single player stuff launched. I don't really know what that was about other than it happened. Like I tried to start one of the games during my lunch period that first day and it was like error, cannot start game. Oops. Try again in a few minutes, and that was all it said.
That's crazy.
So I think all that stuff has been better since then. But it's out there. So if people want to try that out, go for it.
I don't know how to say this except that Michael mentioned Into the Breach.
Yeah.
And Into the Breach has mechs.
That's true, it does.
I've been staring at a lot of mechs this past week, guys.
We're glad that you took some time away to come and join us tonight.
Yeah. Has anybody played Battletech?
Why, Andrew, I've played some Battletech. What kind of mechs have you been staring at?
I am enamored. I have to admit that I was afraid to start this game. Actually, honestly, did not want to click. Like, I installed it, and I did not play it on opening day. And I didn't play it the next day either, because the next day I was like, oh, maybe I'll try and stream it. And then we got to Friday, and I was like, I'm not going to stream it. But I still kind of don't want to click this, because I knew one of two things was going to happen. Either it was going to be crazy buggy, and I was going to be sad and disappointed, or it was going to grab me harder than Civ. And the second thing happened.
It's better than the first.
Yeah, except that I'm not going to play any other games for a long time, I think. Unless I'm wrong about how long this campaign is. I don't know. I think JJ actually may have put in more hours than me.
That seems likely.
Or more missions, at least, because I made a big mistake, JJ.
Oh no, Andrew.
I started talking to the crew.
Mm-hmm.
And then I continued talking to the crew.
Well, I mean, at some point they run out of things to say, though.
Yeah, but then I was like, oh, but there's more crew to go talk to over there. So I've run through all the crew dialogue already. Which is about the length of 2 missions, at least.
Oh, yeah, I mean, you get to find out their backstories and all that kind of stuff.
I like that they kind of hyperlink all the information, too. It's like, there's this type of transmission. Oh, if I just hover over it, it tells me what that means. For all the...
Yeah, that was something they did in the later Shadowrun games as well, and I think has happened in Pillars of Eternity as well, and that's, yes, it's super useful. It's like, what is Lost Tech again? Or like, I don't remember the name of this character from this weird history. Or, like in the Pillars of Eternity case, it's like, hey, what is this? Is this a god or a person or what? And the names are highlighted, or the places and the keywords are kind of highlighted. You can hover over it and it gives you like a tooltip, right? And it just kind of explains, hey, here's a little bit about what this is.
All right, so can we make this a Battletech pod from here on? Is anybody going to be sad and disappointed if we spend 20 minutes on Battletech?
Go for it.
So I say we do spoilers at the end.
Okay, sure.
Because I have one or two missions that I ran across that we have to talk about past the opening mission, which was interesting. But straight on from boot up, I was a little bit taken aback, actually, that the second cinematic, so you get the opening cinematic to the game, and it's kind of like this history lesson of like, okay, so in 2107, we figured out how to create jump ships, and then it runs through everything from then to now in the game universe. And that's your first opening cinematic, and that one they released pretty early on out to the internet. And then I assumed that the second cinematic was the what's her name, Kamea Arano. They did a video of her, and I was like, okay, well, that must be the second cinematic of the game. And it's a little bit of that, but also, since it's the opening thing, I don't consider this a spoiler. She tells you that the end of the game basically has already happened. Was that surprising to you?
No.
Huh, really?
That video also had been out there.
Oh, okay. I had missed that then.
Yeah, but it's kind of a
but
they do one of those like, here is what it's like at the end, but you remember you were there. Dunna, kind of like framing devices.
You remember you were there part, right? Like I remember the video that was like, I'm Kamea Arano, I'm the queen, you need to help me get my throne back, right? So we knew what the story was going to be. But then to also say like, you helped me get my throne back because remember you were there. I thought was a brave thing to do. They basically are like, hey, the story part, this part is not the part that you're going to get surprised by. You're going to get surprised by the game. You're going to get surprised by what happens along the way. But don't worry. Like,
well, I mean, like,
it's
telling you that the ending is the good guys win. And like, is that really a spoiler in a lot of cases? Like, no, right?
Right. Yeah. Or even that you get there, right? Essentially telling you off the bat that your mech warrior is invincible, which is a really important thing to know. Because you should put them in light mechs.
Or you can, right? And that when they die, they will not die because your mech warrior has plot armor.
The best kind.
They should have put that. They have a little attribute screen, Michael. So like you can click your mech warriors, and there's like this training screen, and it has all their stats, and they have gunnery, piloting, guts, and tactics. So gunnery is how good they shoot at stuff. Piloting is how good they can punch at stuff, and how good they are at not getting hit.
Okay.
Slightly more complicated than this, but it's pretty right.
Sure.
Guts is like how many wounds your mech warrior can take and how much of a pounding their mech can take, kind of.
And also like how far you're willing to push it. Like, are you willing to like withstand the chance of it overheating and blowing up in your face?
That sort of stuff.
Right. Yeah. So redlining.
Right. Like maybe this guy can redline a little bit longer. And then tactics is for your light mech guys who run around and try to take sniper pot shots with like these really cool weapons that you can't shoot very often.
Okay.
Or like also it's for like, hey, you're a guy who wants to shoot missiles over a hill when you're out of line of sight, and it helps with that stuff.
Yeah. So they have that screen, and that's a cool little system, and there's little tied abilities to how well they do in each of those classes of their abilities. And you level them up based on experience in combat. But also on that screen, you can click a little thing that's like, what's this guy's background? What is he all about? And you can like hover over. And so one of my good mech warriors' name is Medusa, and he's like a ex-officer, and he's ex-military, and has all these attributes and stuff. You know, so I thought that was just like an extra piece of work they did not have to put in there because it kind of doesn't affect anything.
Yeah, but it's fleshing out the characters for you.
It's amazing how well everything is just I don't know, just like put all this information there. Who cares if they don't read it?
I think it's really cool, especially because this game kind of functions. Michael, did you play the recent XCOM games that came out?
I played a demo of one of them.
So this game has some aspects that are kind of like that XCOM game. I don't want to say it's like this game. If you like XCOM, you'll like this game, because they're not. They're somewhat similar.
Okay.
But
I think if you play like you play XCOM, though, you're not going to win.
Right, you're going to do bad eventually. Yeah, I agree with you also, Andrew. And the out of battle aspect of this game is similar in that you have a money, and then you have to pay your team, and you have to build facilities, and you have to upgrade your ship, and you're trying to hire people, and they cost so much per month, and you have to take these contracts and negotiate how much money versus how much parts and stuff you're going to get. And you want to try to
hurt, and they have to spend time in sick bay. And if they're in sick bay, they can't go on a mission. So you got to have extra people that you're just paying to sit on their tuchus.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And so, you got to balance all these factors, and this was true in XCOM as well, right? Like if your guy got shot by an alien but didn't die, well, he would be hurt for X number of in-game days, and you'd have to have other people waiting to go on the missions because the missions don't stop, right? The aliens are still there. And in this case, the mercenary companies, people still got to get paid. You still got to do the missions. And so, you have this push and pull where like, okay, I need to make sure I have a big enough roster of people that when people get injured, and it's unavoidable in combat, like someone is going to shoot at you and get a crit or get lucky and hit you in the head, and you take a wound for that. And that's, X number of days.
It's really easy to leave a mission and like all your mech warriors are wounded, and you come out of that and you're like, oh yes, that was a good mission. I didn't lose any like limbs off my mechs,
Right.
And then the mechs have to spend time in repair to refit the armor or their lost limbs or whatever. So, there's all this like...
And then there's the push and pull, right? Like, okay, so all 4 of my mechs are damaged, all 4 of my mech warriors are hurt. It's going to take 30 days to get my company back up, and I'm going to spend $250,000 paying for all this, payroll and stuff, because that's a month, and I have to make payroll every month. And then also the repairs is another $150,000 on top of that. So, like, do I go out and hire a bunch more mech warriors so that they can take these damaged mechs on missions and make me some money in that time? Or do I like pay through the nose to just have everybody topped up before we take another mission that won't pay for all that time they were down?
Right.
Which is crazy. And this is the part that I knew was going to drag me into this thing, on top of sitting there in the mech bay and being able to literally customize down to the 5-point armor on every piece of the mech.
So it's less customizable than I thought at first. Each chassis type has some limitations as to the kind of weapons and stuff that you can outfit.
But each chassis has a subtype.
Of course. And there are some chassis that have multiple subtypes and some that do not. But, it will essentially be down to this specific chassis has so many hard points. And the hard points are basically places that you can mount weapons. It has, say, 2 missile hard points and 2 energy weapon hard points. Yeah. Or 1 ballistics hard point, 1 missile hard point, and 2 energy weapons. So then you can choose between your layout of the various weapon types that you have, but you can't fit, say, 15 lasers to this mech because there just isn't space for that.
But Michael, so that kind of leaves Michael with the idea though that you can just like, okay, so I can stick 2 large lasers, my biggest missile, and my biggest autocannon on this, right? Like you can't do that either.
Do you have a weight limitation?
Right, exactly.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Right. So sometimes you'll be like, well, I have enough missile hard points to literally just put LRM 10s on this and ammo and then just not fill the laser points. Is that good? Is it better to fit medium laser and SRM 6? Or, like you kind of like sit there, and even though you can only put 3 weapons on this thing and the 3 weapons are like limited to certain things, there's so many different grades and weights of those types of weapons and the damage they do and the heat that they cause while you're on a mission. And
Right, and then I'm sure that your targets on the missions are weak to different things, so you have to take that into account.
Yes and no. JJ, I actually had some questions for you about this sort of stuff. Because there are certain weapons that I feel like penetrate armor, but then I don't think that anyone's really do. And I'm surprised by the amount of like weapon differentiation and how they don't really tell you when you read the weapons sometimes. You kind of have to wait for the tooltips to tell you. Like AC-10s, they recoil, so you shouldn't shoot them every round.
So I believe that's true for all autocannons.
Right.
That all the ACs have some amount of recoil, and that you suffer penalties if you shoot them every round.
But so then also like a PPC,
also,
right?
Like that, those penalties haven't been that great.
Yeah.
In my experience, you could just keep shooting.
Yeah, you should probably just shoot. But so then like a PPC, particle pulse cannon, pulse particle cannon,
particle projector cannon,
particle projector cannon.
Yeah, we don't know the lore here.
This is one where I'm weak. They look real cool, especially when they're fired from a Mad Cat because you can fit 4 of them. The Mad Cats aren't in this game, by the way.
No, they're not. I was just about to say that, Andrew. Don't get people's hopes up. But yeah, it's like a big blue beam of lightning. Kind of how it looks.
It's a little like a ball. Anyway, it does 50 damage. Well, 2 medium lasers does 50 damage, but if I shoot 2 medium lasers at a vehicle, the vehicle does not blow up. If I shoot a PPC at a vehicle, that vehicle is gone instantly.
And like not always, but depends on the like armor and whatever. But the reason why, right, that happens, Andrew, I'm sure you can already figure this out, but we'll say it for Michael's benefit, I guess, is that everything hits in different areas, right? So like essentially behind the scenes, there's dice rolling all the time, but it's, every vehicle and every mech is divided into regions. You have your left arm, your left torso, your center torso, your right torso, and your right arm, your head, and then your 2 legs, right? And vehicles are divided, right, front and back. And then you have your vehicles are divided similarly. There's like the left side, the right side, the little tank turret or whatever, and the side armors. So a PPC, which does 50 damage in one shot, is more likely to punch all the way through whatever armor is there and destroy the underlying structure, which is how you blow up a vehicle, or do significant damage to a single part, like blowing off the arm or whatever. And that's why a single big damage shot is valuable. Versus, like Andrew says, the 2 medium lasers are better, more heat efficient, right? And same amount of damage, but they could both hit 2 different parts, and so doing 25 damage to this arm and 25 damage to that arm didn't blow anything up, and they can still shoot at you, right?
Right, which I'm sure plays a part into the salvage mechanic you were talking about. That
is also true.
The salvage.
And so we can circle back around to salvage maybe
I think
later.
We're going to have to do a second podcast on Battletech next week.
But I think it's worth pointing out that, like, you get other ACs, like you get like an AC-20 or something. It does like 100 damage per shot, right? And, that's going to blow stuff up real good. But AC-20s are really heavy. So if you're mounting an AC-20, you have like that and like a weapon, So if you miss with that one shot, like, cool, dude. Hope you enjoyed your time. See you next round because you're not going to get to do anything.
Yeah, and that's just before you even hit the battlefield. How good the game is before you hit the battlefield, right? Like sitting around tinkering on your ship can last you all night, and then I need to go like make a mission's worth of money and play this tactics game where you move on essentially a hex grid. They use dots, but
I think you're basically standing at the vertices of the hexes or the intersections.
Okay, yeah.
And then, you put your mechs out to combat and try and win these missions. Very similar to, like, Warcraft style, like, mission objectives. Like, you need to go take this base and then hold it sort of stuff. Or protect the convoy. Or StarCraft 2. More like StarCraft 2 style missions, you know.
Yeah, it's a lot of stuff like, blow up this one guy, and if you get him, you don't have to kill anyone else. As long as you got that guy and you can escape, that's good.
But also, you could take on the whole lance and get salvage.
Yeah, if you blow everyone else up, you get like 20% more money, maybe, or whatever. You know, like that could be a nice incentive there, assuming that you don't lose half your mechs in the process.
Mm-hmm.
High risk, high reward.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like it will happen sometimes. I think in the game that the information that you get from the people giving you the contract is not perfect. So you'll get there and find out that there's like, there's how many mechs here? You said there was going to be a lance, which is in game means like 4-ish. So maybe there's 4 and like a couple tanks. Okay, like that's fine. Sometimes you get there and there's like 10. And you're like, well, you know what I should do? I should hit this button that says withdraw from this battle, because that's not going to go good.
So to withdraw, you have to do something, right? You have to kill one mech.
So there are the game differentiates in the types of withdrawals there are. There's 2. There's like a bad faith, where basically like you get there, you see the 10 mechs, you're like, nope, I'm not doing anything, I'm out. Or there's the good faith withdrawal, which is like, we tried, our information was bad, like 15 other mechs rolled up on us while we were here. We tried, we're withdrawing now, right? Like
tactical retreat.
Yeah, and that's like a good faith withdrawal. Like a good faith one, you will still get paid like some tiny amount. You might still get some small amount of salvage. And the overall rating of your team, basically like in universe, there's a, like, for lack of a better word, like a government organization that oversees mercenary groups. It's not really a government.
The Mercenary Review Board.
Right. And like basically it's like your reputation with everyone. And if you're highly rated from there, they'll go, oh, well, these people are good probably.
Well, it's comparable to like a union, right? Like you call the union, like who's your, your best, your highest grade plumbers, not, I don't want a journeyman. I want a, you know what I mean?
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's a good analogy there for sure. And so, your rating in that board will not suffer if you do a good faith retreat. If you do a bad faith retreat, you're probably going to take a little hit there. But, maybe it's worth it to take that hit if it saves you basically the entire chance of your mechs all getting blown to bits, right? Or having your guys be in the hospital for 100+ days, which happened to me.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so the part where I said that your main character can't die, that's true, but they can definitely be in the hospital for a really long time.
Yeah, that's when you got to hire somebody. Mission-wise, do you know if they're procedurally generated? Because I've now started watching streams of people that were behind where I currently am in the story, because I definitely don't want things spoiled. I just enjoying it too much to lose, any surprises or whatever on missions and stuff like that. Oh man, we'll do the spoiler section after this, because I got to the Argo.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know like how the missions pop up? Because I only got 1 or 2 at each stop until I had to go on to the first story mission. I didn't get, and I looked at other people and they have like 5 or 6 before the first story mission.
So there is, the missions are randomized to some extent. I don't know how random they are. I believe there is some amount of procedural generation in how they're created. But also, like, you don't have to do the story mission as soon as it shows up. You can, like, go around and do your other mercenary stuff and, like, come back to that story mission later. It's not going away, as far as I know.
Yeah, okay. Maybe I just got bad luck on getting more options before I saw the story mission.
And, you have the option to travel to other planets and stuff without taking a mission there. You could just go, okay, I want to fly to this other planet in this other area and go see what's over there.
It costs time and money.
Absolutely. But you can do it. If you're like, okay, well, all the missions in this area suck. I don't want to do this, or I don't want to work for these people. Then you can fly somewhere else and maybe you will get, better missions there.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be a good game. I'm really excited.
Is there a difficulty setting, or does it just throw you into the game?
That's a good question, because I don't know the answer to that.
So there's no way that I've seen to like set it to easy or hard or anything like that. The way you can tell how difficult a contract is before you take it is by looking at, there's like a number of skulls, like kind of in the UI, that'll be like here's the name and then like a certain number of skulls next to it.
Okay.
And more skulls, more difficult.
Sure.
But from my understanding is that there are like normal contracts in the game that are harder than the missions in the story. So like there are like higher skull missions than exist in the mainline game. But from my understanding, like by the time you complete the main story game, you'll have mechs that are so big and powerful you could probably take on whatever in the game also.
Can you keep going?
It sounds like you can, as far as I can tell. I'm not sure about that, though. I don't know. Definitely, I think you could definitely, the game lets you save and kind of load at any time, so you could definitely make a manual save at some point before you do, whatever the last mission is or the point of no return, right? These games always have that kind of a thing.
Yep.
Make a save before that and then just ignore that story mission forever and go fly off around the galaxy, right? But I would assume that they would want you to be able to go back and keep playing because that's part of the fun. Especially with how like randomly generated stuff is. There's no reason why you couldn't just, go out there and live your mercenary life for as long as you feel like doing it.
I can't say that I haven't finished the game or anything, but I can already see this being a platform to push through the MechWarrior universe, the Battletech universe, story-wise.
Yeah, so, they haven't said anything about what their plans are there was an AMA, like, the other day, actually, where one of the developers said, like, yeah, we're probably going to do some updates to this game. There's, like, bug fixes and patches and stuff they want to do, and then also probably some DLC, like, both free and maybe some paid ones down the line. And then, anything else, who knows? So it sounds like there are plans to continue expanding this game for a while, I would suspect.
I have to imagine it did well.
I think they said they were very happy with it. They said there were like over 20 or 30,000 concurrent players, which for a small game like this is pretty high, I would think.
I think there's a lot to talk about still in terms of the game. There's a lot of mechanical stuff maybe we can talk about another time. There's some... I don't know if we want to wade into the reviews on the game a little bit on another podcast as well. Because that could take some time. There's
maybe another time.
There's some controversy there.
Well, just what are you guys' 30,000 foot level? Just overall impression so far.
I think they made a freaking great Battletech game that I've been waiting since they had Mech Commander in 1999.
Yeah, I think if you are a person who is looking for this kind of a game, or if you were a fan of this, if you're a fan of this lore and this series, you probably should play this game. If you're not, then I think you may still really enjoy it because the game is good. But it's an easier recommend for people who are already into it, right? Like if you loved MechWarrior and MechWarrior 2 and Mech Commander in those games, play this one. You'll love it.
Also, I think people that D&D, pen and paper RPG people will really get into it.
Yeah, there's definitely a feel of that stuff. Like you can feel the RPG systems behind it a little bit, even though it kind of plays more like a tabletop miniatures game.
Should we do a quick spoiler and talk about the Argo real quick?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so spoiler for a minute and a half. I just want to say what happened on the mission. Plug your ears, Michael. So that mission was very confusing to me initially, because there's the generators to turn off the cannons.
Right, the turret generators,
but they don't turn off.
If you blow the turret generators up, the turrets that they're attached to blow up.
So the ones that they were attached to were not the ones that I could see or something? I don't understand what happened there, but like I blew up the generators and the cannons that my dudes like walked in front of because I was going to blow up the generator were still on, and then they just shredded my team.
There are multiple of those buildings in that mission.
Yes, I realized that later. They need to. That's the one thing is like they need to delineate, better which ones are attached to what. I feel like.
Yeah, it's not exactly clear which turrets are attached to which generator.
But I wished I had been streaming the game because my favorite moment so far of playing this game happened during that mission. You stand outside this ship, Michael, and you're like, you finish the mission, you take down these towers so that your team can move in on rebuilding this derelict ship, and then you have to defend it against a wave of mechs, and it's like, okay, well, that's fine.
Seems pretty standard.
Standard, yeah. But your mechs are a little beat up from fighting a bunch of tanks and turrets on the way into the derelict, and so there's some armor missing in certain places and stuff like that, and they're kind of like, I'm just going to have to play this terrain a little bit better to not lose my mechs. I don't want to take damage now. The mission's almost over. And then this wave of mechs comes at you, and you're really kind of like taking a little bit of a beating, moving guys around in front of other dudes so that they maybe take a shot for somebody else. And you take down this wave of mechs, and then all of a sudden, I said, "Oh no," out loud, JJ, when the moment happens.
Okay.
And the two other mechs show up.
Oh no.
And it's like your character or somebody else on your team goes, "That's a really big mech." Just flat out tells your team like, "Oh no." And
yep.
And he comes with another really big mech right in front of it. And you're like, my team has like literally two of my mechs are showing their structures on their center torsos. So if they get hit, that's it. Their core goes and they're done. And the pilot probably dies. And I've like promised myself I'm not going to save scum the thing. So
it's possible for your pilots not to die.
You could eject, I guess, but
yeah, you could eject.
Yeah. Can you salvage your own mechs if you still win the mission?
Spoiler alert, if your center torso blows up, you can still repair the mech.
Okay.
It's not gone. It's not gone forever.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good to know. It's not scrapped.
It's going to cost a lot, but yes, you can do it.
Yeah, this mission cost me a lot of money. You get paid a lot though, but the mission cost me a lot of money.
The story missions pay well,
but I physically got to a point like I took down the smaller mech in front of the big mech, and then I was moving mechs around trying not to get shot, and one of my dudes had to line up a shot. And like, if I hit this, it's over. The leg's going down, and then we can pound it next turn. And it missed. And the girl Grim Sybil turns around, and she just lines up on my blackjack. And I just I literally put my hands in front of my eyes until the turn was over, because I did not want to know what was going to happen to my mech. Yep, and that was the moment that I knew that this game was really good. Was like literally like I can't watch the screen because I don't want to see what happens. Anyway, I just wanted to say, but that was a little bit of a story mission, so I didn't want to do it at the beginning. Anyway, if people have Battletech stories, JJ, where should they go?
They can send them to podcast@wewergamers.com, a email address, and you could leave great stories for us in your review of this podcast on iTunes and Google Play. We'd be happy to read them in any place that you send them to us, including our social media, which is facebook.com/wewergamers or @wewergamers on Instagram and Twitter.
Thoughts on Decker?
My Decker is no longer with us.
Supreme rip. My Decker's still alive.
Good job, man.